Compensating Windrush, UK government tries to make amends. Weekend Business Report starts right now. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Kenil Gale. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Months after the Windrush crisis gripped headlines, the victims are to receive compensation. We'll tell you more about that in a few minutes, but right now, here are some of the week's top stories from the BATV News Desk. The Jamaica Labour Party's Anne-Marie Vaz is the new Member of Parliament for Eastern Portland. Mrs. Vaz amassed 9,917 votes to defeat the People's National Party's Damien Crawford by 306 votes. Mr. Crawford only received 9,611 votes. The seat, which became vacant after the murder of the People's National Party's Dr. Linville Bloomfield, saw weeks of active campaigning. The JLP's victory broke a 30-year PNP reign in the constituency. Meanwhile, our news team was in the Eastern Portland constituency as supporters of the People's National Party PNP and the Jamaica Labour Party JLP flocked to the polling stations to cast their votes for their candidates. Jamila Maitland was there.
Clad in orange and green, supporters of the PNP and the JLP were out in their numbers to elect their new Member of Parliament. The PNP is looking to regain its 30-year-old East Portland seat, while the JLP is seeking to break that trend. Both parties are confident that they will become the winner when the final ballot is counted later this evening. Polling stations across the 5 voting divisions in Eastern Portland were opened at 7 p.m. to allow voters to cast their ballots. Both PNP and the JLP supporters flocked to their assigned polling station in Manchaniel, Ferry Hill, Fellowship, Prospect and Port Antonio to cast their vote in the crucial contest. Our news team caught up with the Prime Minister and the JLP leader Andrew Holness, who said he visited all the divisions and was convinced that the JLP's Anne-Marie Vaz would emerge as East Portland's new Member of Parliament. Mr. Holness said while it is still too early to declare Mrs. Vaz the winner, a preliminary report suggested that the JLP was close to achieving its targeted vote count.
Just reading the faces of the PNP supporters, they look worried. And they have at times been more than assertive, which is a signal of a certain level of desperation and worry. But it's too early to say yet what would be the actual outcome. But from what we have seen, and I've been traveling around, it seems to me that the advantage is with us, with the Jamaica Labour Party.
Meanwhile, the PNP's Damien Crawford said he was convinced that his party will retain control of the East Portland constituency. But, like the JLP leader, he too said it was premature to declare a winner.
We are confident. We have our numbers. You'll never know your opponent's numbers, so you can't be overly confident because you don't know what they have. We think we have sufficient to win. At the end of the day, when a man is trying to adopt your child, always look at how they treat their children. And the JLP has had West Kingston for almost 50 years with 2 prime ministers. And West Kingston can't be compared to East Portland.
And as for the supporters, they too were confident that their party would be victorious.
Them say Crawford then him knock out a hospital, pick him up. Portland Hospital, pick up Crawford.
I don't think, I know, Damien is going to be Member of Parliament. He is the new breed of politician and will elevate to become Prime Minister of Jamaica.
Well, action going on with it, you know.
Me sure say we are win today and we have to win because no labor right now come here to control Portland to one is. Now Portland, forward Crawford, forward Crawford.
In the meantime, things didn't go as smoothly as expected at some polling stations. The Jamaica Defence Force, JDF, had to be called in to manage rowdy supporters. Here's more.
Our news team was told about several alleged instances where JDF soldiers had to intervene to calm tempers as voting progressed over the 5 divisions in Eastern Portland. People's National Party Liaison Officer Wayne Vassiani claimed attempts to disrupt voting started as early as 7 a.m.
Just before the start of polls, there was an altercation between Mrs. Holness and her JLP group that she brought in from Kingston, where they tried to assemble at the front of the school, and we objected to it with the police. It got a little bit rough, so the soldiers had to be brought in, and since that, things have been very smooth.
Meanwhile, at another polling station in Ferry Hill, the PNP's West Portland caretaker attorney at law Valerie Nita Robinson said she was called to calm PNP supporters who claimed they were being unfairly treated by the police and the soldiers.
This PD was becoming volatile because the Jamaica Labour Party were behaving in a very obstructive and vulgar way. And the PNP, of course, were reacting, running in and out of the polling station, which you're not supposed to do. We are not doing that. Persons who I expect to know better, like Machi Samuda, Mr. Mike Henry, even the minister, Mr. Chang, having crowds on the sidewalk near the gate of the polling station, which you're not supposed to do.
In the meantime, other liaison officer admitted that both party supporters were too close to the polling stations. However, that was addressed by the soldiers. The PNP also raised concern about voter intimidation. PNP candidate Damian Crawford said he received reports of voter intimidation at several polling stations. He claimed the JLP supporters from other parishes had positioned themselves at polling stations in a bid to scare, but they too, like the others, were addressed by the soldiers.
One of my biggest disappointments about our election, in this particular election, is how many persons are available on a work day just to stand at a polling station. People from Kingston, Spanish Town, all over. And some of those persons feel that their only job is to create fear. I'm not sure if they were instructed to create fear, but whenever you go for the army, they expect a war. And there's a lot of people who are out here creating that kind of fear and mayhem. However, the people are holding firm and they're standing with us.
In other news, Parliament's Public Accounts Committee PAC expressed mixed feelings during Wednesday morning's sitting about the level of progress taking place at Petrojam after the appointment of a new permanent secretary and energy minister to oversee the management of the state-owned entity. More in this report.
3 months after the Auditor General's report into the operations at Petrojam and the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica, PCJ, members of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee, PAC, say they're not pleased with the level of progress taking place at both agencies. One major concern, which is still in the minds of the PAC members, is a $9 million donation to a citizens association. The Auditor General had flagged the donation as a cause for concern amid allegations of nepotism and lack of due diligence during the approval process. Now, PAC members want to know if there's any progress with that particular investigation. Permanent Secretary with the responsibility for energy, Carol Palmer, told the committee she requested information from Petrojam but is yet to receive it.
I have received no email, and I have been asking for this information repeatedly since I got to the ministry, when I indicated that I wanted all the information to put me in a position to inform the Public Accounts Committee.
The two groups, McCook's Pend and Sydenham Citizens Association, located in St. Catherine, were reportedly approved because they were from former Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley's South Central St. Catherine constituency. But the Auditor General's report revealed that both did not qualify to receive the donations.
As soon as the details are provided to me, the ministry will be doing its due diligence and will be taking whatever actions are necessary to recover public funds if they are not properly expended. And so perhaps maybe that's why I'm not getting the information. I await the receipt of the information so I can do what I have to do, or I will seek advisement to send in the auditors there or the fraud squad.
Meanwhile, the permanent secretary announced that Petrojam will no longer be awarding sponsorship nor donations directly. She says it will now be channeled through the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF.
The cabinet took a decision, I think it was February, anyway, earlier, to direct that donations not be given directly, but that they be channeled through, I think it's JSIF. I think that's the entity, if my recollection is correct. So there should be, going forward, no further, while we attempt to deal with these ones that demonstrate irregularity, there should be no further donations.
And PAC Chairman Mark Golding, while commending Cabinet on the decision, argued that the board of PCJ needs to be dissolved as they neglected their duties as the parent company of Petrojam.
Failure to hold PCJ accountable for what happened in Petrojam is a dereliction in terms of the response, in terms of the response to what has happened here. The Permanent Secretary has indicated that the new minister is looking at the composition of the boards. I would only ask that that be hastened because the PCJ board needs to be changed.
Moving on now, come Wednesday, victims of the Windrush scandal will be entitled to apply for compensation. This is expected to cost the UK government at least £200 million.
The scheme's been set up to compensate those wrongly treated as illegal immigrants by the Home Office. Women like Glenda Caesar and Sonia Williams, who lost their jobs and thousands of pounds worth of earnings and benefits because their citizenship was questioned.
The whole country was shocked by the unacceptable treatment experienced by some members of the Windrush generation.
But the Home Secretary's words disappointed those who've been waiting more than a year for redress. He announced a process, not a package. There was little detail and not much confidence in the promises made.
All the stress you've put me through, you took all that away from me, so now it's time for you to repay me.
Don't ask us for more information again and having to go through the paperwork all over again. You know, like I said, I don't...
With me, the government, by them doing this, is hoping that we'll get fed up and think, oh, I'm not doing it.
Exactly.
It'll go away.
Exactly.
They ain't going to bother to do that. No, we will.
Sylvester Marshall says he was denied cancer treatment and made homeless because of Home Office errors.
And what did you think when you heard the Home Secretary say that there would be compensation?
Yeah, I would feel great about that, but at the same time, it's become a problem because no one knows when they're going to get the compensation or how much they're going to get.
People from Commonwealth and non-Commonwealth countries who settled here before 1988 can apply for compensation. The scheme's expected to cost around $200 million, based on 15,000 claims. It'll be open for at least 2 years. The family of someone who's died can also claim. Within an hour of the scheme opening, Glenda Caesar began the process.
Thank you for calling the Windrush helpline, which is a free phone number.
But it felt like all the same questions again, after years of phone calls and letters that have ground her down and yielded nothing.
You've got a medical record. They could find that out without having to look in your face and call you a liar.
Just contact the hospital.
The Home Office is promising this scheme will help make amends, but those whose lives have been ruined aren't convinced. Penny Marshall, ITV News, North London.
Company news comes up next, then later. Let's go for a ride on India's semi-high-speed train. More Wbr after this break. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. Carousel heads to the Privy Council. JN Bank offers 110% mortgage financing. And iCreate inks deal with the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. Here's this week's company news.
Telecommunications company Carousel is taking their case to the Privy Council after the Court of Appeal last week refused a stay on the revocation of their license. The company's lawyer, Lord Anthony Gifford, says contact has already been made with the Privy Council in London to hear Carousel's case. He says they've requested an emergency hearing. Carousel's license was revoked after one of the company's founding investors, George Neal's Association, was called into question. Meanwhile, the company is also calling on the new Minister of Technology, Favour Williams, and telecommunications regulators to come to a consensus on how the company moves forward. Jamaica National Bank is changing the game by offering 110% financing on mortgages. The company says the new deal is now part of its permanent offering. That means JN Bank will approve you for even more than the value of the house you're seeking to buy. The extra funds can go towards appliances and furniture. Interest rates on the 110% loan start at 8.5%, but the bank also offers rates as low as 7.5%. Meanwhile, Fijian bank says it's not concerned that customers may default on these loans because they do not have any of their own money on the line. iCreate Limited and the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation KSAMC have signed a memorandum of understanding to train 40 young people from the KSAMC in digital video production. Titled KSAMC iCreate Lens Support, the partnership aims to build creativity among youth in the municipality. The training and international certification through iCreate is expected to increase employment and entrepreneurship, which will in turn combat unemployment for young people. The 40 trainees will receive hands-on lessons in the latest digital production technology over a 2-month period. The training will explore the intricacies of pre- and post-production to include videography and editing.
Let's now take a look at how the markets in Kingston, New York, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Beijing and London ended the week. When you come back, more of the week's top stories from the BATV News Desk, so stay with us. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. More news now. New reports from the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs reveal that Jamaica remains the largest Caribbean supplier of marijuana to the United States. The report released by the U.S. State Department said the island is a significant transit point for cocaine trafficked from South America to North America and other international markets. Jamila Maitland has those details.
The International Narcotics Strategy Control Report revealed that Jamaica's drug control efforts face significant challenges from corruption, organized crime, gang activity, and an inefficient criminal justice system. The report says these reasons, along with Jamaica's geographic position, its difficult to patrol coastline, high volume of tourist travel, and status as a major cargo transshipment hub contribute to the country's drug trafficking title. However, the report does point to the fact that the country has been making strides to get its narcotics trafficking problem under control. Through strengthened bilateral relationships with the U.S., Jamaica has been able to increase its fight against drug trafficking. Both governments have successfully utilized their extradition treaties, as well as agreements on maritime law enforcement cooperation and sharing forfeited assets. Last year, both countries made progress towards an agreement to formalize information sharing between the respective customs agencies. Meanwhile, the report acknowledged several land seizures of drugs in 2018. However, marine seizures posed a challenge because of the island's coastline. The report said law enforcement agencies such as the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Jamaica Defense Force, as well as financial institutions such as the police's Financial Investigations Division and the judiciary arms like the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, continue to work together and share information to manage and oversee the process from arrest and seizure to prosecution. They commended the government on the passing of the Major Organized and Anti-Corruption MOCA Task Force bill, describing it as much needed. In the meantime, the Americans noted that while the Jamaican law penalizes corruption, it remains entrenched and widespread. They argued that the country's judicial system has a poor record of prosecuting corruption cases against law enforcement and government officials. It's alleged that corruption at Jamaica's airports and seaports facilitated the movement of drug shipment across borders, and organized crime leaders have historically had ties to government officials, creating a permissive environment for drug trafficking. The last time a member of parliament or similarly high-ranking official was tried or convicted on corruption charges was in 1990. Closing, the report pointed out that a multifaceted approach to include law enforcement in collaboration with the executive and judiciary branches of government must be employed to tackle drug trafficking.
Meanwhile, less people were prosecuted, convicted, or extradited to the U.S. for money laundering in Jamaica for 2018. Despite this, Jamaica is said to have achieved moderate success in the enforcement of portions of its Proceeds of Crime Act POCA. Here's more.
According to the International Narcotics Control Strategy Report INCSR 2019, Jamaica continues to experience a large number of financial-related crimes linked to the lottery scam, corruption, and cyber crimes. The report acknowledged a few steps have been taken to improve the government's ability to combat these crimes. Special mention was made to the fact that as of September 2018, Jamaica instituted new anti-money laundering AML software that automatically collects and disseminates AML data. The report also pointed to the provision in the 2012 amended Proceeds of Crime Act POCA, which allows for the forfeiture of assets. This, it noted, has been enforced with moderate success. However, the agency reports that there has been difficulty prosecuting and achieving convictions due to a lack of enforcement of POCA. This, coupled with what they describe as a lack of sufficient training and resources allotted to law enforcement, prosecutors, and the judiciary. In the meantime, the report found that money laundering was primarily related to proceeds from illegal narcotics, weapons trafficking, financial fraud schemes, corruption, and extortion. The report linked most of these activities to violent and criminal groups. Political and public corruption were also linked to both generating and facilitating these activities and the movement of illicit funds. In the meantime, the report highlighted the number of jointly dealt with money laundering cases. 2018 saw 13 prosecutions and 3 convictions taking place. That's compared with 27 and 1 in 2017. This shows a year-on-year increase in convictions but decrease in prosecution.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, JSE, has signed a 7-year agreement with the US-based NASDAQ Stock Exchange. The NASDAQ will deliver matching engine and market surveillance technology smarts to the JSE. The JSE made the revelation on its website earlier this week. More in this report. Managing Director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange, Marlene Street Forest, says the agreement will allow the Jamaica Stock Exchange to tap into NASDAQ's technology. This, she says, is part of the local stock exchange's strategy to bolster its product and service delivery regionally and globally. The JSE will also, through the NASDAQ matching engine, have the ability to offer new products, enhance current trading capabilities, and improve trading times. The market surveillance technology will also provide the exchange with the ability to closely monitor trade activities while strengthening market integrity.
The agreement is for NASDAQ to provide us at the end of the year, it's November, the trading and the market surveillance platforms. It is a vehicle by which trading takes place over the exchange. It's the electronic platform that is used to offer trading through the brokers to the public.
She says while the JSE has had an electronic trading platform since 1999, the new relationship with NASDAQ will provide added benefits.
This particular market surveillance platform is really superior to anything we have had before. So what it means is that there will be even better and more advanced regulation of the market. It allows our regulatory and market oversight division to be more sophisticated in its regulation of the market.
The JSE Managing Director says another benefit from the relationship with NASDAQ is the added exposure for the Jamaica Stock Exchange. The local stock exchange will also benefit from increased advertising at no additional cost. One such example was this big billboard ad in New York's Times Square.
That comes with the deal. As we are proud of the relationship with NASDAQ, NASDAQ is equally proud of the relationship with the Jamaica Stock Exchange. We are the best performing exchange in the world for 2015-2018. That's not a walkover. And so any exchange worldwide, whether it's global or not, would love to be in company with an exchange that is progressive. So it works both ways, and that comes with a deal.
Nasdaq's market technology powers more than 250 of the world's market infrastructure organizations and market participants, including broker-dealers, exchanges, clearinghouses, central securities depositories, and regulators in over 50 countries with end-to-end mission-critical technology solutions. When you come back, India's first semi-high-speed train cutting travel time in half. That's after the break. Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. Now, some 12 million euros have been spent on the Indian government's latest investment in the Making India program. India's first locally made semi-high-speed train is up and running. Take a look.
With that last photo op done, it's finally time for the Vande Bharat Express, India's first semi-high-speed train to depart from New Delhi. Manufactured entirely in India, this train is a symbol of Prime Minister Modi's flagship economic policy called Make in India. Built at a cost of 12 million euros, the train has reduced travel time by half and won the approval of its passengers.
India is ready to compete with any nation.
It's a good start, and we'll look forward that this kind of train should come.
Launched amidst great fanfare, the train represents a success for the Make in India program. But to replicate this success, India urgently needs to upgrade the skills of its large workforce. In this institute in New Delhi, a special program funded by Make in India trains at least 2,000 students each year.
Before, I didn't have confidence, and so I would get rejected in every interview. I decided to come to this training center where all kinds of facilities are available. None of these facilities are available in my village.
But for economists like Mihir Sharma, the Make in India program has not lived up to its main promise of turning India into a manufacturing hub like neighboring China.
You have to make it easier for investors. You have to reduce the bureaucracy. You have to reduce the tax burden until you convince investors, whether in India or in the rest of the world, that India is a stable, reliable place to do business. They're not going to come here. Then we're not going to create the jobs at the scale that we need.
With the unemployment rate at 6%, India is currently facing its worst jobs crisis in 45 years.
And that's where we have to leave things this week. On behalf of the entire Weekend Business Report team, I'm Keneal. See you next time.